Hi, welcome back to ODE. My name is Paulo and I'm here again for one of those videos, very long videos. Some of you complain, some of you like them a lot. One of those videos where I show all the pens that I have in use for the month. This video will get quite long. I'll try to put timestamps below on the description. Also in the description there will be, as possible, links for the pens and for the links to buy the pens and links to the reviews that I made of them if I already made them. And so today we are a little bit late because we are well into February, but I had to do this, so let's start. So, many of these pens that I'm going to show you are, as always, pens that come from the previous month. I did not ink them up. I do not flush all the pens out of ink the month before and then starting the month I ink them up all again. No. There are pens that come from previous month. Some will be inked again, some will not, and some were just recently inked. So let's take a look. And the first pen that I have here to show you comes from last month. By the way, this month there are 31 pens and last month there were 28, so I'm not behaving very well. The first pen I have to show you is this one. I showed you this pen before, and this is that old Parker 51 that belonged to my grandfather. It is a pen that is that kind of special value to me because it was his pen. It is in a very bad shape, but that's it. I will not fix it. It's the way it is. And so let's see. The first pen, so it is the Parker. Let me see if you can see that. Parker 51. It has the costume finish in black and it has what seems to be a fine nib. And it is inked with Leonardo purple. And this ink is nice, the nib is nice, but it drags a little bit on the paper, as some of these very stiff Parker 51 nibs do. So this is an interesting pen, and it is even more interesting because it will have the chance to be compared with the newer version of the Parker 51 that was just released. Now, we continue in Parker and we go to one of my favorite pens ever, this one. I bought this pen in new condition. It is, I would say, quite expensive, and I think it is a beautiful pen. It is a Parker Dual Fold. I like Parker Dual Folds a lot. I think this is the kind of the perfect pen shape, and I think if I ask someone to draw the image of a pen, I think most of the times the kind of shape will be this one. And so, a little bit more light, or is this too much? Maybe it's better like this. And so, this is the Parker Centennial Dual Fold Classic. It has a very long name. Big red with a fine nib, but these Parker nibs tend to be quite broad for fine. It's more like a medium with my all-time favorite, I would say, Parker Quink Black. It is a pen that I like a lot, and I also like the smell of this pen because this is the older version which has that very strong chemical smell that I like it a lot. And you see, quite wet pen, Very nice, beautiful nib, and big pen in this red color that reminds us of the big red Parker from the 1920s. I don't think the light is good today. Not the problem of the light, it's the light setup. I change it all the time. Now, the next pen is an Italian pen. And here we have one of my favorite pens, which is quite comparable with the previous one. And this is the Netuno 1911 Black Sands. I guess I think you saw this pen too many times and you are sick of watching it, but I just need to keep it inked because this pen writes really, really well. It is inked with Waterman purple or violet, I'm not sure, and it has a beautiful nib because you can do this or you can, oops, it skipped there, but I think it was the paper, so you can see, you can have some line variation, and it has a very juicy nib. It is very beautiful. I like this pen a lot. It has this black finish with the engraving there, the Netuno 1911. I love everything about this pen, and I also like the shape. And if you look at it, it is the same kind of overall shape as the Parker Blue Fold, and that is something that I really like. I'm changing the light a little bit again to see if it improves on the shadows there. Now, the next pen, we jump from Italy to India, and the pen that comes from India is this one, a small little pen from this brand, Bina. It's not in production anymore, and it has no nib visible, and you twist it and the nib comes out. Not a very big nib. It only says iridium point, but it writes quite well. I will post this one because I think this one looks better posted. And so this is the Bina Magic. It has a fine nib and it has Kaweco Royal Blue. This is a cartridge pen, and you can have no line variation, very stiff nib, but writes quite well, and it is quite wet for a fine nib. And we are talking here about a real fine nib, unlike the Parker Blue Fold and the Netuno, which are a little bit more generous. Another thing, I kept the pen with the nib out, but it's something interesting in this pen that the cap fits with the nib retracted or not, so it's kind of a strange concept. I will talk about it when I make the review of this pen. And from India we go to Germany, and we go to one of my most recent pens. This was sent to me by Kaweco. This is for the new collection. It has a very beautiful green. It is a school pen with our usual Kaweco logo there, and this faceted cap and barrel. And let's see, this is the Caveco Perkeo Jungle Green, and I think this color is really nice. I don't know if I can show it perfectly to you here on the video, but I love this color. And it has a fine nib, and this fine nib is even finer than the other one, so you can see there are lots of variation between brands and even inside the same brand, and you'll see that in a moment. And this one has the Kaweco Kaweco Palm Green ink. So you can force it a little bit, but then you get almost scratchy because you're really forcing it. If you don't do that, it writes well, but it's more like an extra fine nib than a fine. However, the ink output is quite good. I'm very pleased with this pen from the new collection for 2021 by Kaweco. Kaweco Perkeo, school pen but nice one. Then I have here the Kaweco Special in brass. This pen gets scratched easily and fingerprints everywhere. It is made of metal, made of brass, and it has the same kind of nib as the Kaweco Perkeo. And this is the Kaweco Special in brass, and it has a fine nib also, and the ink is the Pelikan 4001 Brilliant Red, although this is more on an orange side, although in the camera it looks more pinkish. So this is a more dry ink, but we already know that about Pelikan inks. It is an interesting pen and a very sturdy one, all made of metal and long, you can see that. The next pen is also a Kaweco. As usual, there are lots of Kaweco pens here. And this is my faithful Kaweco Lilliput that is always inked, but at this time with the confinement it has seen very little use. It has an ink mix inside, but I've not been using that because this is usual inside a kind of an EDC Maxpedition micro organizer pouch, I think that's the name, and it goes into my backpack when I go somewhere. Because now we are in confinement, or lockdown really, and working from home, I don't have the need to go out, so I don't take the pen and I forget to use it here at home, which is a shame because the pen is really good. However, the cap seal is perfect and the pen does not dry, so this is amazing. This is the Kaweco Lilliput Copper, and this copper finish is all oxidized now, and it's beautiful, I think, with a fine nib. Now compare this fine nib with the Jungle Green. This one is much broader than that one, and it has some kind of an ink mix, and many times these ink mixes get more on the dry side. Not the nib is dry, but this kind of mixes without being really controlled. It's just some leftover inks that I put there, which is not good, I know, but I don't care. Sometimes they have strange properties. This one is very dry. Next pen, also Kaweco, and there is still one more to go. Kaweco Sport Brass. Nice heavy pen, also with lots of patina. Very, very oxidized. Same kind of nib, so we don't need to expect really different writing experience. The only difference, the real difference is you see is the comfort in writing, because pens have different grips, different diameters and different weights. And this is the Kaweco Brass Sport with a fine nib, and it has inside Kaweco Palm Green. And if you look at it, you can see how different the palm green seems in this pen and the Kaweco Perkeo. They are both F nibs, but the Kaweco Perkeo is much finer than this one, and so the green looks also lighter. By the way, I just want to tell you that from these pens that I've been using so far, all have steel nibs except for the Parker 51 and the Parker Dual Fold. The next pen that I have to show you is another Kaweco, and this is the new one. It's not called Kaweco Sport, it is called Kaweco Collection. It's their limited edition for the year of 2021. I received it a few days ago and it is not yet released. It's not yet available in market, although there are some stores that are already pre-ordering the pen. And so this is the Kaweco Collection. This one has an M nib, and I forgot the name of the color, sorry. Let's put it after the medium. Light lavender, and the ink is Kaweco Paradise Blue, which is a kind of a very light turquoise color, and it is quite dry. You can see almost anything when you smear it, which may be nice if you need to write quickly and without fear of smearing. This is a new color for a limited edition for 2021, and I think this is really, really nice. And from Germany, we are finished with Kaweco pens, and maybe, no, we are not finished with German pens, but this is the last Kaweco pen of today, and we go to China for one of the big fountain pens I have here today. I have several big fountain pens, and this is a nice one, made of wood and metal, very heavy. I need to make the review of this one. There are some reviews that are not very positive, but I really like it. Yes, it is a replica of a Montblanc pen, but it's really good, and it has a very good Bock nib, steel nib also. So this is the Moonmen M1000 with the wood is walnut with the beautiful F nib, steel F nib, and the ink is Noodler's Brexit, and it is a nice color, and the nib is really, really good and quite wet for a fine nib. I think this is a very, 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 very good nib. I think it's quite almost comparable with the nib there on the Netuno 1911, a little less springy, but the nib on the Netuno is also a Bock nib, and my experiences with Bock nibs are good overall, except I know that many people think otherwise, but I kind of like the kind of writing experience I get of the Noodlers, out of Bock nibs. And we will stay on China for 4 pens now. This is the beautiful finish of this pen with this crazy nib. This is the Jinhao Centennial with the red koi. I'm writing in reverse for you to see the line variation we can get. Red koi finish, and it has, if you hold it upright, it will get also a finer line, but thicker than that one. And the nib it has is a food nib. It is fun. With an ink mix. That's something that I do sometimes, and this pen can keep up with strange ink mix, and it goes really well. It works fine, quite wet, so an interesting pen, and it has the same shape and size and feeling that you have on the Parker Centennial Blue Fold. Of course it is different, but it's the same kind of family. Now we have here another Genhao Centennial. This one is yellow, and the nib is a regular fine nib. So this is the Jinhao Centennial, yellow, with a fine steel nib, and the ink inside is Lamy blue. It is some ink that I took out of an ink cartridge, those that come with Lamy pens. So this is quite more dry than the other ones, but I think it is from the previous one, which is understandable because this is just a fine nib and the other one is a foodie nib, and the surface that puts ink on paper is much bigger, and I think this is not 100% on focus. Okay, let's continue with another Jinhao pen, and this is the last, not the last Jinhao, but the last Genhao Centennial. This one is marked Century and it has a nice engraving on the barrel, similar to the Parker Centennial Full that I will make a comparison video soon. And so this is the Jinhao Centennial Red. Let's call it Century. Very good nib, also fine nib, the same as in the previous Jinhao, although this is all steel color and silver color, and the other one was gold colored. Fine nib with the very good Parker Quink Black. This nib works really nice. It doesn't have that much feedback, but I don't know if you can capture that with my microphone, but it has more feedback that you can hear, more than a real feedback that you can feel on the paper. And the final Jinhao, the last Jinhao of today, is this Jinhao 85. This is a pen that I bought for not stupid reasons, but mostly for the channel. I don't feel attracted to this pen, not that much at least, but I bought it because it is somehow similar to the Parker 51, the new version of Parker 51. I will get the Parker 51 as a loan for review, so I thought maybe I should buy a Jinhao 85. It is quite inexpensive and it will be a way of comparing both pens. This one has a screw fit cap, which is not that usual with this kind of hooded nibs. And so this is the Jinhao 85 in black with gold trim, and it has a fine nib, and this nib works so smoothly with Montblanc, which is also very nice ink. This is the Montblanc William Shakespeare. Yeah, sorry that mess. Velvet Red. See that for a fine Chinese nib? This is a lot of wetness and the pen is so smooth over the paper. The only thing I don't find it logical is that when I cap the pen I tend to force it, but it's not just a slide on cap, it's a screw on cap, which is very strange for me. And the next pen that I'm going to show you is a pen from Germany, very different from that one. And it is this interesting Lamy CP1 in matte steel finish. It still has the sticker there that says M. I will take it out, I just didn't do it yet. And it is an interesting pen. It is an older style of Lamy CP1. This one is not made anymore, and it takes the regular Lamy nibs, but by the time this pen was made, the nibs were not stamped with Lamy. And so this is the Lamy CP1. This one has a feedback, and you can hear it and feel it. Lamy CP1. So now the autofocus stopped. Okay, Lamy CP1 with matte steel finish and an M steel nib with the ink inside. This one is the Waterman South Sea Blue. Yes, this is the name of the ink, and it is this the name because this is an older cartridge, an older ink bottle that still had the old name. Now, the next pen is a pen that is somehow similar, also matte steel, but this one is the Lamy CP1. It's not easy to light with this light that I'm using for this writing sample. Has a hooded nib, or semi-hooded nib. And so this is the Lamy 2000 Steel with a medium nib. This is so much smoother than the other one. The other one has feedback, this one has almost no feedback. And Waterman South Sea Blue. This pen is wonderfully smooth. However, I usually prefer a kind of feedback like the Lamy CP1, but this one is wonderfully smooth. I have both pens with same brand with similar finishes, and I'm thinking of making they have the same ink inside, because I'm thinking of making a comparison video, which those versus videos that I make, because I think it may be interesting for this pen. And now, from Germany, we go to Italy. And I think we are around halfway this video. And this lighting setup is not good for showing the pen, is more for showing the paper. And this is the Leonardo Dark Hawaii resin. But this, as I told you, this lighting is not the most perfect to show it. So let's see the pen performing on paper. But you can see lots of depth here. This is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande Dark Hawaii. It takes lots of words to name this pen, with a fine steel nib. Attention that there is another gold nib there in the Lamy 2000. I forgot to write the ink. This is so long that I forgot. Sorry. This is diamine or diamine denim. Beautiful blue. And you can see this kind of nib even allows some line variation. Guess what? Also a Bock nib, and it is quite wet. I love the finish of this pen. However, it's not perfect to show under this lighting, as I told you. The next pen that I have to show you is another Leonardo. I think this is my favorite Leonardo ever. It has lots of chatoyance. It's very strange to show it like this because of the lighting again, but it is a very beautiful pen. This is the Leonardo, let's put it like this, Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande Sand, with also a fine nib, and you can see that this fine nib is finer than the nib above. It is also a steel nib, also from Bock as the previous one, but it has a slightly different behavior. This has an ebonite feed, which makes all the difference in terms of wetness, such as the previous pen. And the ink is diamine or diamine Macassar, which is a very beautiful ink that my friend from the Inky Nib, he gave me a sample of it, and I'm enjoying it a lot in this pen. It works really well with this pen. Now, the next pen is the other Leonardo, the other Leonardo Grande. It has a very beautiful resin, but forget it with this light that I have here to show the paper. It doesn't show the pen so well. This is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Furore Grande, which means it has this kind of shape instead of the Momento Zero shape. This is the Furore Grande, and the color is blue Positano, or Positano blue. I think it's blue Positano, and it also has a fine nib, so also the fine nib. And the ink it has is Leonardo blue. I'm not a fan of dark blue inks, but this is one of my favorite blue inks. It's very, very beautiful. I like it a lot, and I like the behavior on paper. Not only the color, but how it works. Now, we change from Leonardo to another brand, but we will keep ourselves in Italy. And we are here for a pen that I got in December. And I love this pen, I love this finish, it is really amazing. I love it a lot. I like it so much. Very beautiful pen. And this one is the Montegrappa Mia. The finish is called Meteor Shower, and it has a medium nib. And why is that a medium nib? If I prefer usually fine nibs, because I find myself when I look at Jowo nibs, and this is a Jowo nib made of steel but made by Jowo, I usually prefer them with M's, and the Montegrappa nibs are a little more dry, so the M is better. That's why I chose the M. And the ink is a very nice diamine chocolate. Where is the focus? There. Chocolate brown. It is mostly a stiff nib, but wet enough, and it works well, and the pen is amazing. This kind of finish is very unique and very, very beautiful. So I'm very happy with this pen. And now we go to Japan for another pen that you saw lots of times here in this channel, in this kind of videos. And this one is the Pilot Elite in there. Pilot Elite in sterling silver with a ciselé pattern that reminds us of Parker 75, although it is a Pilot pen. This pen is really good, and it has this gorgeous nib. I love this nib. I love this nib. I didn't do the review of this one, but I need to do it because this is an amazing pen that I got. This is the Pilot Elite sterling silver. This nib even makes like that singing noise. It is a gold nib. I think you can see 18K gold nib, and it is marked as manifold, so it means it was a stiff nib to be able to write through carbon copy paper. And it has Pilot Hiroshizuku Tsuki. So this is supposed to be a hard medium nib, but you can see you can have lots of line variation. It is very wet. It is an amazing, amazing, amazing pen. This is one of those pens that I call a writer's pen. And I have to say that in this lineup for February, I think I have some of my favorite pens ever. So I think as time goes by, I have quite a selection of pens that I really enjoy. It doesn't mean that I want to stop collecting, or there are no more pens that I want to get in the future, but I'm getting to a place where I feel quite happy with the pens that I have, and I'm starting to know the pens that I don't really need that much. The next one is still from Japan, and this is a Sailor pen. This is the beautiful, beautiful pen, very expensive with a very big nib. This is a number 8 nib from the Sailor King of Pen. Let me go back and just show you the Pilot Elite and compare the nib sizes, so you can see the Pilot is a big nib also. And so this is the Sailor King of Pen Profit. The color is called dark green champagne, and it has a medium nib. And the ink is the Montblanc Daniel Defoe, one of my favorite inks ever. Very beautiful shade of green that is not available. I had some people see line variation with this nib, amazing. I had some viewers talking to me about some replacement inks, even from Diamine. I will search them because this is a very nice pen. However, I still have a stash of discontinued ink called Montblanc Racing Green, which was a very beautiful ink, so I can go and get those and replace it. It's not the same shade of green, it's a darker one, but it is also a muddy green that I really like. The next pen is this thing that I didn't review yet, but I have to do it because it is interesting. It is a Wingsung 601. It has the vacuumatic system. You can remove that blind cap and you have the plunger there, and it reminds a Parker 51, but I bought the steel hood for it, which is interesting. So this is the Wingsung 601 steel. It is a copy of the Parker 51, even the clip. It has a fine nib and the ink is Robert Oster Deep Sea. And it has a stiff nib, as we should expect. It's not very wet, I think it's more on the dry side, but it is a pen that performs really well and looks nice, and with the steel section or the hood it looks even nicer. Now, we jump from China, where this Wingsung came from, to Germany again. And from Germany you have this little pen, which is an interesting one with this teal color. It doesn't look much because of the lighting, I know. And you can see it is a Montblanc. It's not in perfect shape. There you have a little, maybe a little cracks there. And this is a very interesting and very smooth Montblanc Junior 622 with a fine steel nib, and the ink it has inside is the very well behaved Schiffer turquoise. When I see turquoise, I see people say turquoise, I tend to say turquoise because of French. And this pen is very, very smooth. Very good nib, not lots of line variation to be had, and more on the dry side. But Schiffer ink is not very wet ink. So an interesting school pen from Montblanc. And if you prefer Montblanc pens that are not school pens, I have here this one, and this is the Montblanc 149. And it is here because I'm planning of doing a versus video comparing the Sailor King of pen with the Montblanc 149. And so this is the Montblanc 149, Meisterstuck 149. I didn't put Meisterstuck. It has an architect nib. I'm not a big fan of that. And the ink is the Montblanc, yes, for comparison purposes, Montblanc Daniel Defoe. And you can see the cross strokes are really larger, and it is a very wet pen. So this is the Montblanc 149. And after a little break, just to flip this Rhodia notepad page, let's continue the video. So we go from Germany to Germany, and we have here the FaberCastell Neo Slim pen. It's a very, very slim pen, and I would say it is very comparable with the Lamy CP1. And so this is a comparison that will arrive in the future someday. And let's do it. This is the FaberCastell Neo Slim Matte Steel. First, you can see that this pen is has almost no section, so you can try to grab there, or you just hold it higher, because the pen is long enough to hold higher if you want. And if you want to hold it really high, you can post it and it becomes even longer, so there is no problem with that. This pen, I was having some trouble with it. It was very dry. I changed the Visconti ink that I used to have to this ink that it has now, and it works better. But then I had to adjust a little bit the nib, and now it writes really, really well. So this has a fine nib, as you can see. It has this strange shape because it's a nib that curves downward, and it has inside the Graf von FaberCastell moss green, and the pen behaves well with this ink, no line variation, and it is quite wet for such a fine nib. So now I'm really happy with it. I was not that happy because the nib was not working 100% perfectly. The next pen that we have here, it is a pen that has been on these videos for a long time. Also, we are on the final 5, so we are almost over. It's this very big. This is the William Shakur Titan, a very big pen made from a 3D print process. And it has a very nice big number 8 titanium nib. So this is the William Shakur Titan Yellow with a fine titanium nib, which means you can have line variation. I think you can see it there. And it has, and let's see the line variation, it has diamine raw sienna. You can see the line variation. This pen is really amazing. I like it a lot, and very big pen, but very comfortable to hold. The material is quite strange, I know, but I love the color because I love yellow pens. So this pen makes all the sense, and it is still inked. I just changed the ink for a lighter color. Now, the next pen, and these are the last 4, is from Italy. That one was from the United Kingdom. This one is from Italy, and this is a stunning pen, even with this not so good lighting, you can see the material. It is amazing, amazing, amazing. This is beautiful, wonderful pen. It has a very particular shape. You may not like the shape or like it, it depends, but the material is really beautiful. And it is a Tibaldi pen with a Tibaldi nib. And so this is the Tibaldi, I was going to write Perfecta, but so this is not the Perfecta, this is the Bononia Martini Olive with a fine steel nib, but with an ebonite feed, which is nice. Also the previous pen had an ebonite feed. And the ink is again the Montblanc Daniel Defoe. And this ink looks a little different from how it looks on the previous nibs, which is understandable because they are nibs of different sizes. This pen is really nice, beautiful, and writes well, and it has a very nice characteristic, which is the kind of section which is very big. It's quite large, it's almost as large as the barrel, and that is a nice feature if you like to hold thicker pens. And we are reaching the end. The next pen is a pen that comes from France, and it is a little bit more unconventional, mostly because of its brand, because it is a big pen. This pen, obviously, it has the Stipen caps because Bic bought the French brand Stipen and they use their materials to make the pens. The nib is the Stipen nib, the kind of model of nib that looks like a number 6 until there, but then it steps down and it is much finer, the part that is inside the feed. I cannot show you here with this lighting, but that's what happens. And you have the little man from Bic there on the nib. This pen is not that comfortable, to my opinion, because it has this rubberized section, which is nice, but it has a triangular shaped grip, and it is very pronounced. I don't love it. So this is the Bic. Actually, this pen I got this month of February, not last month, but it is already inked. This is the Bic. Let me check my notes for the right name. X pen Select with medium nib, and it has, no, it's not Parker Queen Black, it is Kaweco Pearl Black, which is also a very interesting ink that I like a lot, and it is very comparable with the Parker ink, and this is a good characteristic, not a bad one. You can see quite a stiff nib, but wet and writes very well, a little bit on the broad side. I know it is a medium nib, but writes a little bit on the fat side. And from France we go to Italy, to a yellow pen, another yellow pen. I love yellow pens. And this is an Aurora, and this pen is also the kind of a writer's pen. This is the Aurora Duocart Yellow, also with an M nib, and this nib is almost perfect. It is very, 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 very good nib. And it has, this time you're right, Parker Queen Black. And if I had to say something between these two blacks, I would say that Kaweco Black is a bit warmer in tone than the Parker Queen Black, but not that big difference. This is a very stiff nib, but a very good writer. I really enjoy this pen. It is so well made. I'm really happy I got this one, and in yellow color. And now the final pen is a pen from the Czech Republic made by Pentel, and this is a one-man's brand that makes pens by hand, and this one is a very nice one. I showed it in the video of the pens that I got for this month. The lighting here is not perfect, as I told you. Let me try to change it to auto color. No, I think you can see. This is a beautiful wood pen with urushi lacquer on top of it. It's a very, very good pen. The section is made of ebonite, the rest of the pen is made of wood, all covered with urushi lacquer, and it is very, very beautiful pen. The material is perfect. So this is the Pentel, also a very good nib, but a Yovo nib, so I got an M nib. This is the Pentel Samurai Ironwood with a medium steel nib. It is made of ironwood, so it's quite heavy, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pen. I know all the work that was involved in making this pen, and I think this really adds value. I'm not saying that I don't like mass-produced pens, but this one you can feel that there is something special about this pen. Very beautiful, very nice. The ink it has inside is the Graf von FaberCastell Hazelnut Brown, and the nib is nice, more on the stiff side, and is so well tuned, so wet, so well made, so perfect. So this pen really is a pleasure to write with, and I think this is a pen to enjoy for many, many years. So these were all the pens that I had to show you. You can see here that this month we had lots of pens, 31 pens, not many colors, mostly browns, greens and blacks, also some blues, red, okay, maybe some color variations, and I think this is a nice thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video again. Sorry because it was so long, but I hope you liked it, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and to keep coming back for more videos like these. As I mentioned, there are lots of videos, reviews and pen comparisons that I want to make, so there is lots of stuff to come. And bye, I wish you a nice day, and we'll meet again next video. Bye.